Hey guys, it's Darlene again. I know it's been such a long time since I've done a video, but I'm back and I'm better and coming to you with a video today. Just wanted to give you a brief introduction of who I am and what I do and answer some questions, most frequently asked questions. I have 5 frequently asked questions that I get asked all the time. And so I just kind of first wanted to give you guys a little story on my journey and how I became known as the V-Steam Queen, right? I'm Darlene Johnson, co-owner of Her Secret Garden, V-Steam and Spa. We are a service and product-based vaginal steaming spa located in the greater Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we offer vaginal steaming, skincare, sugaring, but what I really talk a lot about is womb health and women's health and wellness. And so that's kind of who I am. I discovered vaginal steaming several years ago. I was going through a divorce. I needed a way to emotionally heal from the situation. I was up in the air on whether I wanted to file for divorce. I was very, very, very unhappy. I experienced horrible insomnia to the point where I would stay up for like 3 days at a time, and then finally on the 3rd night I would be so exhausted I would, finally fall asleep. But it was because I was just going through so much internally, and there were so many battles being fought on the inside of me, especially when it came to the very unhappy marriage that I was in. And so I looked up like emotional healing or emotional release or something like that, and vaginal steaming came up. And so I decided that I wanted to try steaming. I think I had seen it maybe on the Housewives or something like that. So I decided, okay, this is what I was going to try. I'm going to try to see if steaming would help me emotionally detach from this person. And I went and got the steam done. I found a lady here, went and got a steam done. And immediately after, I got in my car and I just started crying, just bawling. And I'm not a crybaby. I don't cry. I've always, been OG, triple OG, especially when it comes to relationships and men. So I just didn't cry. But that day was that release that I was looking for. And it wasn't anything that I can control. It just happened and it felt so good afterwards. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I want other women to experience this. I had no clue this is what vaginal steaming was. And so then I went on this path of, I shared it with my business partner, Whitney, and I went on this path of healing through vaginal steaming, getting trained, and doing several, continued education courses, and then starting to work with women just one-on-one with steaming and seeing their journeys and seeing their healing and seeing the benefits that they got from steaming. And so that's my little short and sweet. I mean, of course it's longer and we'll go into more, at a later date, but that's kind of like the short and sweet of how I started vaginal steaming and why I opened Her Secret Garden. So I get questions all the time when my clients come in, right? They have questions just like me. You're researching online, you're going on Google, you hear this, you see that, you read this, and so they have questions. And I just wanted to give you guys my 5 most frequently asked questions and answer those for you. So I wrote them down, so you'll see me looking down just so I don't forget. But top 5 FAQs. Number 1, how long do I have to wait after steaming to have sex? And I get this one. I put this as number 1 because this is literally the number 1 question. And there is no waiting period. As long as you don't have any infections or you're not dealing with anything like that, you are free to leave your steam session and go hop on, however you do. It's totally okay to steam and have sex within hours, the same day. There's no waiting period. There's no restrictions after you steam. So go for it. And I do. I have a lot of clients that come in, and women, their husbands are on the phone with them, or their boyfriends, and they're like, oh my gosh, when you coming home? So feel free. There's no restrictions on steaming and sex. It doesn't stop anything. So go for it, ladies. Okay. Number 2, is steaming going to give me a yeast infection? Or another question is kind of like this. I can only use Dove soap down there. You know, I'm very, very sensitive. I can only use Dove soap down there. And to answer that question, no, steaming is not going to give you a yeast infection. And Dove soap is not to be used in the vagina, around the vagina. It's not for your very, very sensitive women parts. So that's kind of another video. We'll talk about some feminine care hygiene products, and Dove soap is not on my list. So but no, steaming is not going to give you a yeast infection. Steaming increases blood circulation and blood flow to the vagina. It can loosen some and liquefy some candida and yeast that you already have up in there, but it's not itself going to give you a yeast infection. So don't be afraid to steam. Generally, my steams do not last more than 30 minutes. And the reason why is because if you actually sit and steam for an hour, hour and a half, that heat could cause infection. But you're never going to go to a professional who's been trained in steaming and steam for longer than 30 minutes. Generally, your first steam is about 15 minutes. And that's just to kind of let your body get used to the herbs, the steam, make sure you don't have any reactions or anything like that. And then any other time that you come, it's always a 30-minute session. So no, steaming will not give you a yeast infection. And if you are super sensitive, steaming is great. We're just using water and herbs. So you're not going to have a reaction unless you're allergic to the herbs. And that is a question that I do ask on the intake form. So steaming, I've never had anyone have a reaction or anything like that to steaming. So steaming should not cause any issues if you're sensitive, and it should not give you a yeast infection. I have an IUD. Can I steam? Yes, you can totally steam if you have an IUD. I know there's some information out there that's saying no, you can't. Some are saying yes, you can. But the rule of thumb with this, and I tell all of my clients that have IUDs, is that steaming can cause uterine contractions, right? It's causing some circulation, getting the blood flow down there, kind of waking things up, and you may feel a little crampy. Now, the contractions or the cramping can move your IUD, and so I always let my clients that have an IUD know that. Obviously, we're not going to steam for long periods of time. Again, we have that 30 minutes is the max, and we work our way up to that for my clients who have an IUD. We're going to work our way up to that 30 minutes. But I haven't had any issues with any of the women that have IUDs. I have clients that come once a month, twice a month, that have IUDs, and they don't have any issues. But again, long steaming. So if you have a steam seat and you want to steam at home, you don't want to steam for an hour if you have an IUD, because it is going to cause cramping and it could move the IUD. So you can totally steam with an IUD, and with all birth control you can steam. My doctor said I shouldn't steam, or I don't need to steam, right? And this is the same doctor that told you that you needed an IUD, right? Anyways, doctors are not going to be super supportive of vaginal steaming, because vaginal steaming falls under holistic care, acupuncture, herbalism, that sort of thing. So you know that Western medicine does not support herbal holistic healing. And unless your doctor has actually steamed themselves, I would ask, have you ever done a steam? What do you have against it? Yes, the vagina is self-cleansing. Steaming doesn't clean your vagina, and anyone that is using that as a way to advertise obviously is not educated in vaginal steaming. Steaming is a detox for the vagina. Steaming is a way to increase circulation and blood flow to the vagina. And we have a lot of issues that we deal with as women and in our womb because of lack of blood flow. Fibroids is one of the reasons, one of the main things that are contributed to lack of blood flow to the womb, right? So if we're actually doing something and introducing a little steam down there for 10 to 15 minutes, that's going to help to increase the blood flow and the circulation. That's actually really, really good. And like I said, I think a lot of doctors are very closed off because it's a holistic practice and they're just not open to it. It doesn't benefit their bottom line. They're not going to support it. And if your doctor tells you not to steam, I would just ask why, and have they ever steamed themselves? Do they know anyone that steams? And yes, there are some horrible stories out there and videos out there of people that have burned themselves with steaming. And again, this always goes back to making sure that whoever you steam with or whoever you're getting your herbs from is someone who is knowledgeable and has put in the time and the education so that they're not going to hurt you. Same as a doctor, right? And so our last question is, this is a good one, and this is kind of, it's a question, but it's not. So I've had clients that say, well, why should I steam? I'm not having sex. I'm not in a sexually active relationship, or I'm not having sex right now. So why would I steam? And my answer to that is that steaming it's a physical healing, because yeah, it helps with certain issues that we deal with as women: womb issues, fibroid cysts, endometriosis, PCOS, PMS, long menstrual cycles, heavy menstrual cycles, hormone imbalances, vaginal dryness, all of those things. Yes, it helps deal with the issues physically, but then also it's a spiritual treatment as well. Like I said, when I did my steaming for the very first time, it was more for an emotional release. It wasn't for any medical issues that I had. And so that's why steaming is so beneficial for our bodies as women. It's not about whether you're in a sexual relationship, but it's about being in a relationship with yourself and learning how to love yourself. Now, does steaming, increase vaginal lubrication, wetness? Yes, it does. So if you are in a sexual relationship, of course, you're going to benefit from those things. Can steaming help kind of tighten things, make things nice and warm in there? Yes, it can. But that's not all that it does. And so I don't want it to be looked at as a sexual treatment. It's not necessarily a sexual treatment. It does benefit our sex lives as women when we, embrace who we are and walk in, this beautiful divine feminine, this beautiful goddess energy. Yeah, it helps us in our sex life, but it's not just for women who are sexually active, right? So I never want anyone to get discouraged with steaming and thinking that steaming's not for them. I've had clients as young as 13 and as old as 75. So every issue that we deal with in between the ages of 13 and 75 as women, steaming can help to address. Womb traumas, healing, like I said, different vaginal issues. As long as you have someone who's knowledgeable in herbs and who, is doing their education and getting the knowledge about steaming and about treating you with herbs, you are in great hands. So I hope those answered some very frequently asked questions. I thank you guys for tuning in. I never want to make my videos super duper long, but if you have any topics or any questions, you can always shoot me an email. My email is info@hersecretgardenvsteam.com. Visit my website for more information on vaginal steaming, to book an appointment if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, or to purchase products. We are on www.hersecretgardenvsteam.com. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.